The Dodgers don't offer Walker Buehler a qualifying offer. We get into the reasons why. Also, the latest in the Willy Adames free agency sweepstakes. And we have to talk about this story. Rob Manfred confirms he is the worst commissioner in sports, probably the worst commissioner in baseball history. We get into this latest story also in this edition of Dodgers Digest. Hey, this is Mike Nelson. Make sure to subscribe. I want to thank the 12% of the ones that are watching these videos who have already hit the sub button, but 87% of you have not subscribed yet. Myself and Brad J, we're bringing you everyday Dodger content. You don't want to miss out. And if you're just a baseball fan, hit that sub button. Let's get right into it. So the Dodgers don't offer the $21 million qualifying offer to Walker Buehler. We got some insight into that today from Ken Rosenthal, of course, a legendary baseball insider. At first glance, it seems that the Dodgers simply chose not to offer this to Buehler due to their belief he's not worth much on the open market. But Ken Rosenthal came out and said that that's not true. He basically said that this is going to help make Walker Buehler's life in free agency much easier, as of course tying him down to a qualifying offer would have taken a lot from him in terms of him maximizing the free agent market. They didn't want to force the issue with Buehler. I mean, the guy has now won 2 World Series with the Dodgers, including getting the final out for the Dodgers against the Yankees. And the qualifying offer would have damaged Buehler in the market, leaving him with almost no choice but to accept. And while accepting, he goes into this article, would have not been the worst outcome for Buehler. This was not, worth it for the Dodgers either way, the $21 million offer. And, the Dodgers, of course, are going to pay the luxury tax, but they've only received a pick after the 4th round if he had rejected a deal. In this way, of course, Buehler can negotiate a multi-year deal with the team of his choosing. This is what Rosenthal wrote today. Now, I agree with Rosenthal in terms of, the Dodgers trying to be nice to Buehler and let him test the free agent market. But I don't know if I buy the idea of, them, do you really think Walker Buehler is going to get $21 million a year in free agency? I mean, I really think the Dodgers made this decision also because they simply don't think that Walker Buehler is worth that kind of money on an annual basis. Despite winning 2 World Series with the Dodgers, I mean, the guy has been hurt for the better part of 2 years going into this free agency period. And that hurts his value, in my opinion. I mean, despite having pitched great in the World Series, had a great start, of course, got the last save, he'll forever be in Dodger history. I don't know what you guys think. Do you think Walker Buehler is worth the $21 million that he would have been paid had the Dodgers offered him the qualifying offer? Because that's what they would have paid him, right? If he would have offered that contract and Buehler accepts, they would have owed him $21 million from next year. Now, I think that Buehler was going to reject that offer. I don't know. Do you guys really think Buehler would have accepted that qualifying offer if he was given that offer? I don't know. I think a part of me thinks that Buehler would have rejected that offer and tested the free agent market anyway, considering he just won the World Series and he knows that there's interest from a pretty big team in New York. So, I mean, the guy probably would have tested free agent anyway, and you would have got a draft pick out of it with him declining the qualifying offer. So, in some ways, I disagree. It's kind of a tough one. I don't know what you guys think. Comment below. What do you guys think? Should the Dodgers have offered Buehler that qualifying offer and just kind of hope that he said no, and then, maybe come up with another offer in free agency, or just let him go? Now, the Dodgers could have already maybe Ken Rosenthal, doesn't know this yet, or he will eventually report on this. Maybe the Dodgers have already moved on from Walker Buehler. I mean, that is honestly a possibility as well, because they just went out and signed Blake Snell, which, as we know, was one of the biggest free agents available in the 2024 offseason, going into 25. After he opted out of his contract with the Giants, he was one of the top dogs out there to sign, and the Dodgers got him. The Dodgers signed Blake Snell. They made the first big splash of this offseason. Again, it had to be the Dodgers, a team that spends the most and really has, really gotten some good signings, as we know. Look at last year. I mean, the Dodgers signed Ohtani, one of the greatest players of all time, and Yoshinobu Yamamoto. And literally, they won the World Series in their first year. Yamamoto was injured for a good part of the year, but he ended up coming back and was an integral part of the World Series championship team for the Dodgers. So that's what the Dodgers are trying to do with Blake Snell. Does Walker Buehler really fit into that? I mean, I don't know. I think same goes for Jack Flaherty. Does Walker Buehler and Jack Flaherty really fit in to that kind of team that they're trying to build up for 2025, right? Because that's the whole point of this. The Dodgers are trying to repeat as World Series champions, and I just don't know if these kind of players are going to really fit in to what they're trying to do, what they're trying to build here. Because, sure, they might have had some good moments last year, both of the players that I just mentioned, but there was also some really difficult moments for especially Jack Flaherty, right? I mean, we saw some tough starts from him in the playoffs, and even giving up home runs in his few of his starts that he had when the guy had trouble, not giving up home runs, right? I think that's a big concerning stat when you're deciding whether, you want to sign a player for long term. And Walker Buehler, the injury problem. I mean, the guy, has had some good moments near the end, but he didn't look his usual self in the regular season. I don't know what you guys think, but that was not the Walker Buehler I know of during the regular season. He kind of came out of the he came out and was the old Walker in the playoffs, but he wasn't like that in the regular season. So, the $21 million qualifying offer was not offered, and you could definitely kind of understand why. Now, let's get into the latest from Willy Adames. So, Willy Adames, as we know, is one of the biggest free agent shortstops. The Dodgers have been mentioned in reports that there could be interest, but I mean, after extending the contract, for Tommy Edman, they just signed Tommy Edman. The Dodgers are probably not going to be as aggressive in paying that kind of money for the Brewers infielder. Instead, Adames could land with one of the Dodgers' biggest rivals. This was from Newsweek today, and Tim Kelly of Bleacher Report has tabbed the San Francisco Giants as a perfect fit for Adames. So that, of course, is definitely difficult news, to say the least, that our biggest rivals north will most likely get Willie. But, the Dodgers had to get Tommy Edman. They had to sign Tommy Edman. You have to, they had to go with their gut there and sign one of their top players. The guy was NLCS MVP. Come on, you don't want to lose that guy. Sure, he wasn't a free agent he was still under contract, going into 25, but you know that Tommy Edman, his value could definitely go up after next year, so you had to kind of lock it down now. Now let's get into this story. This is a tough one. Rob Manfred, we know the worst commissioner in sports history, maybe the worst commissioner in baseball history. I'm gonna just say he's the worst commissioner along with Gary Bettman. I'm also a big hockey guy. These two guys have done some poor jobs as commissioners, and now Rob Manfred continues to just embarrass himself and embarrass the game of baseball. I mean, the guy mishandled the Houston Astros cheating scandal completely, and now this is absolutely ridiculous. What do you guys think? Rob Manfred claims there's buzz around the golden at-bat rule among MLB owners. This was said today on a podcast. This is absolutely absurd that he would come out and say such a ridiculous statement that they would consider having a golden at-bat rule. It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, what do you guys think? Having a player come up once a game, having a chance to choose, one of your star players once a game to come up at any time during the lineup, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's ridiculous what Rob Manfred and the owners, I don't even know if this is true. I mean, are the owners really saying this, or is this another one of Rob Manfred's terrible ideas to supposedly better the game of baseball? It's absolutely ridiculous, right? And I really hope this never happens, because this is gonna further ruin the game that we love. I mean, a lot of things with baseball are messed up, to say the least, and Rob Manfred has a lot to do with it. The expanded playoffs have been a ridiculous idea. In my opinion, having more teams in the playoffs, teams that don't deserve to be in there. Arizona D-backs going to a World Series. I mean, come on, this is ridiculous. So there's been some ridiculous moments during Rob Manfred's tenure, and this is another one. Considering having a golden up bat, golden at bat. I don't even know what to call it. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely absurd. So I really hope this never happens. Comment below. What do you guys think? Should baseball ever consider having such an atrocity in their game, having a golden at bat? A player can come up at any time. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I really hope Rob Manfred Rob Manfred's time as baseball commissioner can hopefully comes to an end soon. I really hope the owners just vote this guy out and get somebody that really understands baseball and is not going to further ruin, America's pastime. As always, make sure to subscribe, and let's go Dodgers. Woo!